What's going on, everybody? Joshua Koch, the Coach's Corner, is back for another edition. Coach James Williams of those Marshall Buffs, Coach John McDowell of those Foster Falcons, Dennis Silva II, repping the V for VYPE again. We're back for another week, and man, we talk about looking good coming out of the tunnel. It was the Fort Bend Marshall Buffs on Friday night in those all-gold uniforms. Alum Kendall Sheffield of those Atlanta Falcons coming back and giving back to his old team. Coach, for you, we talk about alumni and stuff, but what did that mean to those guys in that locker room, and to have an alum like Kendall Sheffield come back and get uniforms and just all that for the Buffs program?
It's amazing because I tell the guys all the time, they have dreams and goals, in life, and a lot of them want to play college football, a lot of them want to play NFL football, of course. But the thing is, I tell them just about 7 years ago, that young man was in the locker rooms, the same ones you're using. They were practicing on the same practice drill you're practicing on, going to the same classes you're going to. So, dreams can come true. You work hard and set your goals and do everything you can to get those goals. And, good things can happen and dreams can come true. And, Kendall Sheffield is such an amazing young man and such an amazing character in that young man. His parents did a tremendous job of raising he and his brother, Jacoby. But, again, him coming back whenever he can, gets in town, he comes back to see the kids, he talks to the kids, hangs out with the guys, and also to get back to the program. It just means so much. We talked about last week, I think on the show, I'm not in this for recognition and awards, but to make difference in kids' lives. And he feels we made a difference in his life, and he wanted to get back to our program and the things he learned, the character, the discipline, and hard work he learned from our program, and he believes it's going to help him in life. And so it meant so much to us. The kids had no idea it was coming. This was planned way back in probably March when we ordered those uniforms, and the kids thought it was a normal homecoming game, and so they come out for pregame. We were in our black home jerseys and go all the way through pregame, and it felt like Christmas. We went in a little bit early and had the uniforms with the gold jerseys and pants spread out on the floor in the locker room, and they came in and went crazy. It was about 20 minutes of just jumping around and dancing and having a good time and enjoying the blessing that they were given. And so happy to do it for the guys. They've earned it. They work hard. Now the only problem is, I have some alum now who've been contacting us because they're very angry that those gold jerseys didn't come out a year or two ago when they were still. But again, it's been a whole lot of programming.
Yeah, such a neat deal, and those gold jerseys looked awesome. And moving to another topic as we start this show, before I get it off to Dennis, I saw some highlights last week, and the one that stuck out to me was Jacoby Banks, your quarterback, and I think it was a touchdown run that he had where he was he was getting hit and he just kept going and trucking, and you could just see that toughness and just kind of pushing through. Because I'm a person that if I got hit like that, I'd be laying on the ground just done. I wouldn't be your starting quarterback by any means. But for you guys, when do you find out how tough a guy is? Is it in practice? Is it in a game moment like that? Do they have to show you something that's like he's going to fight everything he's got to get into that end zone or get that last yard for that first down? When do you find out how tough a guy is?
Well, for us, it's the whole program is built on developing that toughness, not just physical toughness, but mental toughness. That's where the off season comes in. That's where your, the practices you have is, how do you practice? Do you practice physical? Do you have physical mentality? Spring football, going through the summer, you're lifting weights, you're going through all these things to build your body up and build that, physical and mental toughness, and you want to, you want to build players like that. Now, quarterback on the wide is a great run. We love it. He was tough as nails, but you also they got to know when to go down. Because your quarterback, you want to keep him healthy, you want to keep him playing. But again, it's a program deal. I really believe that, and I really believe that folks on the line of scrimmage, offensive and defensive line, having a physical run game, it really helps the whole mentality of the team because you have to practice against it every day. You have to play against it. If you have that physical mentality, you have those wars in practice where you're getting after both sides of the ball, you have no choice but to be physical. You have no choice but to be tough, or you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, for us, it starts all in off season. Are you tough enough to get that 3 sets of 8 at 80% or whatever on squat? Are you going to quit? In our competition days, we put you against the people that you're going to compete with for a spot on the team, like as far as position wise. So we challenge them every day, see if they're going to be tough and how they can take that toughness from the body hurt and the mental fatigue being in a boot camp atmosphere, sort of, and all season and then into the season, it all relates. Can you do it? So it all starts for us in all season. Hopefully it moves on to the field. I think some kids have an inherent toughness in them, and we just try to bring it out in them, because, tough situations don't last. Tough people do, and that's what we're trying to do in life, just make them tough. You can be physically tough, but you got to be mentally tough and, emotionally tough, so I think it's just going to bode them well. But it all starts in the off season for us.
Question for both of y'all. Do you think as toughness and competitiveness correlate? Are they all one and the same, or do you feel like those are two different traits? And can a kid be tough but not competitive, or a kid can be competitive but maybe not tough? Like, how do y'all see that, or are they just one and the same?
Great question. I think they're both related. I think you got to have both of them, because you got to, the toughness or physical toughness of being in competition, you got to be able to withstand whatever that competition is. Like, even if you're hurt or tired, or you just don't want to be in a competition, you got to get out of it mentally, because there's a sense of being toughness, whether I'm tough mentally or I'm tough physically. And if things don't go your way, you got to be able to be tough and take it and keep competing. So I think that they're related to each other, because if you're weak, sometimes you really even want to compete, or do you just want to run and hide, or if things don't go your way, do you blame or, complain, defend your actions and stuff like that. I think you have to be both, to be honest with you. I think you got to be both tough and competitive to be able to be successful in this game and especially in life, Yeah,
I agree with that as well. Sometimes you have some guys who are competitive. They think they're tough, but then when it comes down to it, they're not what they thought they were, or they may rethink that, that decision. But, again, it's just about an environment that you create, going through, like Sean said, off season all the way through. It's a mentality. It's, the more tough players you have, the more competitive players you have, the more successful you're going to be. And again, it goes far beyond just football. I mean, it's life. The jobs we have right here, we had to compete to get these jobs. We had to interview. We had to be, tough to go through the interview process and to determine if we bad enough.
Yeah, be told no.
Yeah, absolutely. I interviewed for probably 10 jobs before I got this one. And it's just part of it. But again, am I gonna, be negative and I'm gonna complain and find excuses? Or I'm going to be tough and say, no, I'm going to get the next one. I'm going to get better. I'm going to improve on representing myself and representing my plan for what I want to do, and go out there and compete with the guys that I'm going against for this job. So I think, like Sean said, it goes hand in hand.
Compared to when you guys first got into head coaching, do you find yourself having to develop that toughness more and more in these kids? And do you find that maybe today's student athlete is not as tough or as mentally tough as the kids maybe when you got in, or are they tougher in some ways? I don't know.
I think these days, these kids, and I don't want to say they're not as tough, they're different. The way these guys are coming up are different than the way we came up. We came up, Saturday morning, we was all in the park, playing tackle football, all day, every day. Every time you went home was to drink out of the water hose or, to get some lunch and come right back out. These days, got water bottles, and they had, other things and, video games and stuff. So it's a little bit different, but they're definitely tough. But it's just like I said, they just do things different. Social media and all that, it's just a different intergeneration, But again, if it's about what you do and how you do it, they come into your program and they buy into it. They work to get that way and be that way, or like I said, I hate to say it like this, unfortunately, some guys get left behind and we're not having that tough mentality. But I don't think it's necessarily the kids these days are not as tough. They're just different. It's a different way of reaching them, a different way of coaching them. These are the why generation. They want to know why to everything. Whereas before it's like, just do what I say and shut up. Now it's like, you got to explain why you're doing it. Why do I want you to take this step? Why do I want you to make this punch? Why do I want you to do this particular play? Because that's just why they're going to ask why.
My answer is no, they're not tough at all. It's a learned trait. It's something that their parents dug into them when they're everybody's version of tough and definition of tough is different, right? And so I'm not as tough as my dad, right? I'm not, and I'm not as tough as probably as my coaches were. My dad definitely wasn't as tough as his dad, and then his dad wasn't as tough as his dad. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
hell, my mom is super tough, or was super tough. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think everybody's definition of toughness. I think life is easier now than it has ever been.
Yes.
Right? There's more things to eat and do and be around. Man, we didn't have all that growing up. Man, if we got to play PlayStation or whatever, man, we get kicked out of the house at 2 PM, and then, you know what I mean? That don't happen now. So I don't necessarily think that the kids have changed. I think adults have changed. Like, especially in our position, Coach Williams and I, man, like, there's things that we could have done 10, 15 years ago to a kid to physically remind him, to punish him on something that he might have done, where now I'm like, well, if he gets blisters on his hands from these bear crawls, man, it could be a lawsuit. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff, you know, where it's like, it's a one thing. You just have to be careful on things that you do and say now, because you have to create that culture of trust, and the parents have to have buy-in, the kids have to have buy-in. And you got to know who you're talking to. So there's different degrees of toughness. There's different degrees of that stuff. Do I think that they're somewhat tough? No, but it's our role to teach them when to be tough and not to be tough, right? You know what I'm saying? The emotional side of it all. Like, I try to be pretty tough all the time, but I also give tough love, and I also give hard, tough stuff. And I think they got to know which one. I think you can be as tough as you want on them to make them as tough as if they know that you love them, right? And that you know that you're for them. But my answer is no, they're not tough. But neither am I. So it doesn't matter, you know? So.
Along those same lines, we talk about developing toughness in kids. As a head coach, do you find yourself more and more, especially with the younger coaches that are coming in and you have in your staff, that you have to develop toughness in your own coaching staff these days compared to maybe when you started? Like, is that a thing at all, where the younger coaches that are coming up, you have to develop that toughness in them just as much as you have to do the kids?
That's a great question. You know, I think the way you approach kids and the way you approach adults are kind of like two different things, right? Since I've been in the game a little bit longer than a guy that's just coming in, you know, you don't want to be too tough on them, but you want to teach them the ropes, right? There's things that you just have to hold them accountable, and they have to understand what you want, your expectations of it all. I think that's the big thing. For me, I might not be as tough as Coach Williams or somebody else, because we have more of a collaborative effort in here, and there's a hierarchy, but everybody has a vote. I just get one more vote than all of them combined. You know what I mean? That's just how it works. But I think it's still teaching and it's still coaching, whether you're talking to a kid or a young coach or any coach in our position, that we're just trying to make better and grow, to have a growth mindset for them. So I think, again, there's some people that can take being tough on and they rise. And there's some people that you got to chip away and they got to understand where you're going. So, you know, it's definitely a different work ethic, definitely a different set of expectations, because everybody wants something instantaneous now. I want to be the head coach now. I want to be the offense coordinator now. And there's a process to it. They don't necessarily want to go through that process, you know. And so I think it's just a good mix. You got to find you got to find what that person does well, and you got to try to grow it, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say building toughness in staff members and young staff members, is more of just development, you know, and how things are supposed to go, how it should look, how the operation is, you know, how to be organized, you know, how to coach it. You know, now when coming in, they have to form to how we do things and how we practice and how we meet and things like that. You know, our expectation staff overall, you know, but I believe in treating men, you know, with respect and like men. You know, I don't, you know, cuss guys and do things like that. You know, I'm going to treat them the way I want to be treated, but I also have some expectations, and I want some urgency in things you do. But again, it's more of a development and more of getting them prepared, you know, find out what their goals are. You know, some people don't want to be head coaches. You know, other guys want to be the best position coach they can be. You know, other guys want to, you know, be coordinators and move up. So it's pretty much finding out where their goals are, what they want to be. But then also, you know, I believe in helping them get where they want to go, because I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for coaches who've helped me, you know, and develop me as well. So I owe that to the next generation of coaches coming through. And, you know, like Sean said, some guys want to just jump right to head coaching. And it's interesting because sometimes that does happen, but, you know, you got to pay your dues. You know, you got to take your time and learn this thing. If you want to do it the right way, you got to learn the right way. You got to commit and to doing things, commit to putting in the hours, commit to visiting people, visiting colleges, visiting other successful high school programs, and learning as much as you can. So when it's your opportunity, you are ready for it. Because the worst thing you can do is, what the saying is, you're promoted into incompetency. You don't want to be put in a situation where you're not ready, and then it goes bad, and then that's not a good look for your career wise. So that's more of where I think the focus is as far as building toughness, but building them overall development.
Nice. And my final question for today is just basically for you guys as head coaches from when you started to now, what's been the biggest adjustment or change schematically in high school football that's taken place? Is there something about the game that's really changed? Or do you feel it's mostly the same? I think Coach Williams already.
That's easy. That's easy. Guys like Josh McDowell, all this quarterback run this way, pull that way, and zone read stuff and all of that quarterback, that was funny because really my last job, I was at Hightower, defense coordinator at Hightower, in 2008 and 2009, and that wasn't really in much back then. But now, schematically, hey, you've got to be able to defend the quarterback and the quarterback run. You can have a spread formation, but with a running back and a quarterback back there, that's almost like I formation. You got two runners back there. So, I think schematically and just the evolution of the game, is definitely turned into a spread game where you got to cover the entire field. You got to cover the RPOs. The guys like Sean have his lineman running 5 yards downfield. They call it run play, taking a run, but still throwing the pass out in the flat or downfield. And it's like, how do you run block and throw at the same time? But that's where the game is going. So that's what the game is. But it's a challenge. It's a chess game. It's like the offense has the advantage for a while, and the defense has to catch up. Figure out how you defend all this stuff. What do you need to do to defend RPOs? What do you need to do to defend the running a mobile quarterback? And then the offense will come up with something different, like a trick huddle or a tempo or something. It's just it's a fun game. It's a really fun exercise game, and the game is a lot different right now than it was 10, 15 years ago. No more I formation, run that ISO down at you. Now it's spread quarterback ISO, or something like that. So it's fun, but it's definitely a different game.
Yeah, I would say too, I don't know scheme wise, but like how defenses are catching up to what Coach Williams was talking about, like being able to line up. I mean, you're seeing kind of unconventional defenses. They're able to jump out of 3 down and 4 down. They can defend. They show that 5 in the box, and really they're defending with 7. They can drop 8 on you at any point in time or bring heat and man you up. So I think a lot of that it's just a fun to see the evolution of it. I actually think that schemes go not top down, but from bottom up. So like what you see in the high school level and college, right? So I think it flows up to the NFL, right? I don't watch an NFL team. Like I don't watch the Cowboys or the Texans to get a scheme. You know what I'm saying? Because can't do most of it, honestly. Like that kid has to run a 4-3. I don't have anybody that runs a 4-3 to run that play. Right? But I do watch Thursday, Friday, Saturday college football because it's very similar to what we do. And I ain't had a creative thought in my brain ever. Good, good artists create, great artists steal. Steve Jobs. That's me. So when I see it, I take it. We try to install it and learn about it. It's a never-ending game of learning, and you can see the evolution of it. The scheme-wise, it's kind of like I think Katy High School for a little bit. Or look at the success that Alvin is having in the Wishmo. It's very, very difficult. We have to change what we do to be able to defend that because everybody else is out in the numbers, throwing it around, RPO, where they're smash mouth, option football, pitching it out, and you have to be more disciplined. And younger coaches have a hard time being able to defend stuff like that because they've always done the 2 formations and athletes. What I think has changed in the past 10, 15 years is the amount of athletes. The big men are leaving. I don't know where the big men are. They're not in 77406 Richmond Rosenberg. The big guys. But the amount of skill kids is amazing. As far as like if you want 8 7-on-7 teams, I got you. Right? But if you want a football team full of like O-lineman, D-line where the game is played, I think that's where I'm starting to see the biggest changes. If you got linemen, O-line, D-line, you're gonna win some ball games. Right? Straight up. Yeah. If you don't have those, don't matter what you got. You ain't gonna win very many ball games. Yeah. It's an awesome game. I love the go scheme. I visited Coach Williams a few times because he's my mentor. So we run the same defense. Well, we try. And so, but yeah, no, I love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's funny. You look at the NFL these days. You never thought you'd see, bubble screens in the NFL, or those quick passes, and it's a lot of high school football, a lot of high school offensive schemes you're seeing in the NFL, RPOs, all that stuff. You're seeing it all up there.
Is it maybe because, like you mentioned, things trickle up as these guys do get from high school to college and college to the NFL? Do you think the trickle up is happening just because, like, when those rookies come in, like, they know that the coaches know, hey, they're comfortable, like, running these plays, so they kind of, even if they don't have them in, they kind of implement them just to help that transition from college to NFL? Is that where maybe the trickle up is coming, just to help them transition from level to level to level?
Well, I think it's more because it's successful. Something as simple as a quick pass, behind the line of scrimmage can get you the yards just like that. So, those guys are, again, they have much more time on their hands. I mean, their job is football. So they're from, 8 to 5, nothing but football, and to do schematic stuff and learn things that works. But I think it's successful. The guys are doing it on a high school level. And I think that's perfect what Sean said. Coach McDowell said, he goes up to the college level. You've seen those guys doing a lot of it. Just keeps working his way up because it's successful. The spread game started in the high school level. It was not, in the NFL. It really started there, and then the colleges caught on, and the NFL guys are catching on to it as well. So I just think it's success, and then when you do see those guys in the college level having success doing those simple plays, then yeah, let's do it on the college level or the pro level to see if it works.
Yeah, and I would also argue the fact that the NFL shelf life is what, 3 years, 3 games.
Yeah.
So if you can't get that guy in as early as you can, then you gotta. Now we're seeing that schemes are adapting to players rather than players adapting to schemes. Like, a guy is good at this, we need to find a way for him to do this a lot. I'm paying him a lot of money to get him on the field, that kind of stuff. And the NFL is becoming a passing league. You're not seeing the power being run down your throat as much. You're seeing that stuff. And so it's easier to get guys on the field earlier and get athletes on the field and get them in space. So it's like, I can see this guy doing it, so why not do it for me? So I think there's a lot of that too. And why would Patrick Mahomes want to go under center and run the I when he can do his thing in the Chiefs? To me, that's just good coaching. It's simple. It's almost stupid, right? Like, it makes so much sense, but that's the whole point. Like, to keep it simple and do stuff that the kid can do, So, and that's why you see the younger generation of head coaches in the NFL, that kind of stuff, because they've adapted to the schemes, they adapted to stuff. You start seeing that trickle down. You get older head coaches in college, so they keep it consistent, but the assistants are really young. It's a young man's game, unfortunately. So, but I love it. Now I can really watch football every day now. I mean, I don't watch that much NFL football, but I'm going to watch the Chiefs versus the Packers because I'm going to recognize 90% of what they're doing, and wish we could still do it. Because we do have it in the playbook, but we ain't no good at it, So, but hey, it's not X's and O's in the grand scheme of things. It's Jimmy's and Joe's. It's players. We talked about this before, and so to me, that's just good coaching to be able to find ways to get your dude on the field as fast as you can.
I feel like at this point in the Coach's Corner, I need to get that put on a T-shirt, like promotional Coach's Corner T-shirts. I'm just going to get, like, Coach McDowell's face and Coach Williams' face, and on the back, that's going to be the stain.
Can I pick the picture this time?
See, you're still upset. You're still upset about the picture on the graphic, but I searched social media. I should have just texted you.
I'll tell you this. I got a face only a mama can love. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I thought this was going to be a radio show. I was fired up, but I didn't realize they was I mean, we're not models here. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. So, if you look at the viewers, it's like all my family and James' family. It's cool.
Right, that's all it is.
Hey, we've been consistent at like 500 views a week. We've been consistent.
It's all good. It's
been good. Been good. It's an award-winning, Emmy-winning show, and I know people are ready for us to get to America's favorite part of this show, the Pick'em, and to update the standings with just a couple weeks left in the regular season. Coach Williams and Coach McDowell are tied for the lead at 31-9, right? Only a game back after going 5-0 last week. Dennis Silva at 30-10.
Nice.
And look who picked up. I picked up a game. I went 5-0 last week.
Wow.
And I'm at 28-12. So I'm only 3 games back. I feel like all hope is not lost at this point for my picks.
I think we were
so let's get
last week, Sean. We had an off week.
Yeah, we did have an off week, man. We were going 4-1, man. That was tough. You know, I really went 4-2, but I'm not gonna say anything about that. So.
So let's get to the pick'ems this week. Good slate of games. We'll start with Klein Collins versus Klein. Collins has been picking up some steam of late. They take on Klein. Potentially, this could be the final game that Collins needs to actually win the district. So does Collins take care of business and secure a district championship this week against Klein?
That's going to be a good one. That'll be a tough one. That's like Klein Collins started off a little shaky this year, but like you said, they're on the roll now. They've won some big games last several weeks. Klein is the same thing. It's just trying to find that rhythm. Trying to find that pace to keep it going, and it's sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get. I like that Klein Collins on the roll. If I think I'm going to choose Klein Collins just because, again, they're on the roll. They won some big games recently, some that actually would have picked against them to win. But I think they'll take this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Klein Collins as well. I think they struggled early, but their schedule early was brutal. I know they're sitting at what, like maybe 3-3, 3-4 now or something like that. Maybe 4-4.
Yeah.
But I think they're undefeated in district, if I remember looking at it. So beating some people. So I think I'm going to go with Klein Collins on this one.
Yeah, I'll go with Klein Collins too. They're really on a roll. Had a tough start, a tough schedule, but the win over Klein Kane last week was really impressive. And to do it in the way that they did. I think they just have a lot of momentum right now. I think they're orienting the ball very well. I think they're figuring a lot of things out. Klein's a good team, but I just don't think they have, one, the talent, and two, just the momentum and whatever mojo Klein Collins has. I think it's going to work for them. I'm going to go with Klein Collins.
Yeah, you talk about the schedule early on. Klein Collins had to open up against Atascocita and North Shore as their 2 opening games. Yeah. Played a really good Tompkins team that was rolling at the time. Lost a close one to Willis. And then, sometimes when a team starts like 0-4, we're sitting here going, okay, well, kind of riding them off the district. But then, for me, the Tomball win was huge for them, the way that they kind of dismantled that Tomball team. So I'm going to go Klein Collins. I think Hassan Hackney coming out of the backfield is a really good back. They know what they do. They run the ball well. So I'm going to go Klein Collins over Klein. I think they're going to wrap up that district championship this week. The next one is kind of an interesting one. It's not teams that are like 4-0 or anything, but it's going to be kind of come down to a playoff spot. Memorial takes on Cy-Fair. Both teams are 2-2 in district play right now. The way it looks right now, that this game could decide who is the 4th and final team going into the playoffs. So who wins this one, Memorial or Cy-Fair?
Woo, that's a tough one. I know Cy-Fair's been up and down. I know Memorial's been up and down, but they're playing people close. So I think I'm going to go with the Bobcats at Cy-Fair. I think I'm going to go with them. I think they got a little bit of slight edge, played a little bit tougher competition. I know that Memorial's hanging around with people, but my heart's telling me Cy-Fair, so I'm going with Cy-Fair.
I'm do that as well. Both teams have a physical mentality. Both teams, like to run the ball. But I agree with Cy-Fair. Memorial's close. They almost got Stratford last week. They had a tough game, versus a good Stratford team. But I think that Cy-Fair's going to have that edge. They're going to get back to playing the football they like to play. Like Sean said, a little tougher district they've been in. I've been playing again. So I'll go ahead and go with Cy-Fair.
I'll go, man, this one is close, but I'm going to go with Memorial just to be different. I think it's really a toss-up in this one. I didn't realize how similar they were. Both have lost to Stratford. Both have lost to Jersey Village. And then Cy-Fair lost to College Park. And Memorial lost to 7 Lakes by 2 points. Similar schedule, similar type of pedigree as far as their resume so far. I'm going with Memorial. I'm optimistic more than confident, but I think it's going to be a great game for that last spot. I think it's going to be pretty intense. But I'm going to go with Memorial in a really, maybe overtime.
It is a close one, and I'm like 3 games back here, so I'm like having to figure out how to catch everybody. The only thing, Memorial played Stratford a little closer than Cy-Fair did. Just by like a touchdown. It was not by much. Now, granted, Memorial Stratford, that is a rivalry game. We kind of figure that Memorial's going to get up for that game a little bit.
Right.
I'm going to go Memorial too. I got to catch up anyways. But Memorial, I think, gets this game. I think the way they played Stratford a little closer, maybe they can gain some momentum off of that, being that close to Stratford. So I'm going to go with Memorial Mustangs. I think they win this. I think they get into the playoffs at the end of the day. The next one is North Shore takes on CE Kings. CE Kings kind of taking some lumps of late. North Shore looks like North Shore of past. I think they're rolling through like 4 different quarterbacks, 4 different running backs. I don't know the depth chart over there. My goodness, John Kay's got like 3 deep at quarterback right now. So North Shore takes on CE King. North Shore trying to take that next step towards winning another district championship.
I'll take North Shore for that one. CE King started off so strong. They do have a good team. Don't get me wrong. They do have a good team, but when you go in the likes of Atascocita, you're going against North Shore. That's a tough schedule to go against. And Summer Creek is in there as well. But I'll go ahead and go North Shore. They're getting it back where they want to be. Defensive playing strong. CE King just came off of a tough game against Atascocita. I'm gonna go North Shore. It's just hard. That's just that 2 game in a row is just tough to overcome. So I'll go North Shore.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to go against North Shore. They're rolling. I know that North Shore defense is as good as it's been. I know CE King really done some great job this year. But, man, I got to go with North Shore and the Mustangs of North Shore, so I'm going with them.
Yeah, I'm going with North Shore, too. Did I see last week that they had this freshman, Caleb Bailey, at quarterback?
No, they were supposed to bring him up, yes, early in the year. He's supposed to be special.
He looks special from the highlights. I don't know if I heard this wrong, 6'4"? Something like that. He's got some size.
I'm not sure about that.
He can run.
You need to look up his middle school highlights. His 8th grade highlights are just silly.
Wow.
It's like it's like watching you would think it's a full-grown man playing 8th grader.
Yeah, I was gonna say he did not look like a freshman on the field.
No.
So anyway, I was just like, man again with North Shore. Like seriously, but no, I'm going with North Shore. I'm not even sure it'll be that close. I think North Shore is kind of built for these type of games. Like this is just part of their pedigree, where when it gets to this point of the season, they kind of step up. CE King, I'm interested to see how well they play North Shore. Even if they lose, but they're close, I think that's kind of a moral win for CE King in a lot of ways. But I'm going to go with North Shore.
Yeah, I'm going to go with North Shore as well. CE King gave up a lot of points late in the game last week. It looks like potentially Atascocita they might have lost Gavin Session for the season due to an injury. So they were rolling a sophomore out there in Zion Brown, Zion. I can't remember his last name right now. So the fact that CE King gave up so many points late to a young quarterback makes me. North Shore is a young quarterback too, but this defense is completely different. So I'm gonna go North Shore. I think they take care of business, and then they'll go into next week to face Atascocita for the district championship at home. So I think it all lines up. So I go North Shore Mustangs as well. The next 2 are, these are some premier games in Class 5A. The Crosby Cougars have been rolling, and they take on Port Neches Groves, which I know Coach Williams knows everything about, the PNG Indians. Both of those teams, I think, undefeated in district for both. So Crosby versus PNG this week.
I like Crosby. I've been watching their film a little bit. They're super athletic still. Coach Preto's got them guys rolling a little bit. I think they've got some of the magic they captured from last year. I really feel like they've got some really good receivers that can take it to the house, playing pretty good defense. So I'm going with the Crosby Cougars.
Yeah, I'll go Crosby as well. They're playing good football. I think they're the lead in that district. Barbers Hill played them tough a few weeks ago. That was a very good game. But Crosby always finds a way to persevere and get the job done late in the game. But I think they'll have a little too much for P&G. Coach Faircloth is doing a great job with it, as he always does. He's got his kids ready to play, and they're playing great in district. But I think Crosby has a little bit too much, a little too athletic. I think they'll take care of the business.
Yeah, Crosby looks really good. 5-game win streak, I think, since starting 0-2. I know they had a tough loss to Carthage at the beginning of the season. Siren Miles is just looking dynamic. I mean, as a junior quarterback, looks really well. Very athletic, like you said. But I think it'll be close. I'm not sure, but I think Crosby's gonna take this one fairly easily.
I think the big Code Red machine is rolling down the train tracks right now, and Siren Miles is the engineer blowing the whistle at this point. I mean, that Carthage game, I think if anything, that Carthage game, even though it was a loss, and I told Coach Beretta this after the game, I think that told a lot about his football team, because Carthage rolled in there. I mean, it was a back-to-back state champs, hadn't lost a regular season game in like 2 years, and all this stuff. And I mean, they went toe-to-toe with Carthage. And Carthage is no team to mess around with. So I'm gonna go Crosby. I think they're gonna beat P&G pretty good, and I think this team seems to have a lot of confidence right now. And I think a lot of it stems from last year's state run of getting all the way to the state championship. The team comes back different, I think, after a season like that. So I'm gonna go Crosby. Then the last one, we're about to figure out how real these Peyto Panthers are. They take on Fort Bend Hightower, which has been playing phenomenal football. And I waited for the last one with this, because I knew Dennis is over there just swerving right now. So I'm going to let y'all pick Fort Bend Hightower and Katy Peyto, or Peyto. Peyto? How do you say it?
Peyto.
I don't remember. Peyto. Okay, cool. So that's the game. That's the final pick. This could decide the championship, I'm just saying.
I remember last time I went with this particular team, and everybody went against me. And that ended up being a good week. But it's going to be a great game. I'm actually probably going to be there. It's going to be a great game. Thursday night, I think at that Rose Stadium.
That's right.
Man, Peyto is playing well. They're playing very well. Both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively, very explosive. I mean, they look like Katy in light blue. They're really doing a great job there. I tell you what, the defense that Hightower's been playing has been pretty doggone good. That's what they're leading on right now. I believe if there's a defense to slow down Katy Peyto, this will be the defense to do it. I think it's gonna come down to can Hightower score enough points to win this game. And so, very, very tough decision. This may be the decision that decides the entire coaches pick them the season. So I'm gonna go with those Hurricanes. I'm gonna keep riding that Hurricane wins, and let's go. Let's get it.
All right, so having the only one that's played both of those guys.
Yeah. Right, so let you go first.
Yeah. I'll tell you, we took Hightower was way better than us. So was Peyto. Still early in the year. I think Peyto has gotten better. And I think Hightower's gotten better, And so it's a big discussion in our coach's office right now. We got a bunch of wagers being placed. Speaking from the football side of it, Peyto is a complete team. They can score at will. They're physical up front offensively. They do just enough passing to keep you honest, but you better defend their run. Defensively, if you are not used to going against that type of defense and understand the ins and outs and how they do things with their safeties and the D linemen and get them involved, jumping out of 3 down, going to 4 down, they're solid. I don't think we've rushed for 50 yards on them in 2 games that we played them. We were the last ones to beat Peyto last year. They haven't lost since we beat them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? Hightower, excellent defense. The kids are flying around, playing well. They do a really good job defensively. Probably better defense this year than they had last year. However, offensively, they've got some athletes and they do some things. They are a mix of Pato. They love to run the football. They can throw it sideways. I'd be interested to see if they can throw the ball vertical, right? They did against us. I'm just saying I can do it on a consistent basis, right? I appreciate that laughing at me, Dennis. Thank you. I'm laughing at myself, so I'm giving you it's okay. It's all right. You know I got to get you. But in my professional opinion, I'm going with the Paytown Panthers over the Hightower Hurricanes. I think the defense is going to be too much for them. I think it's going to shut down the Hightower offense. If you don't understand it, they're going to outnumber you everywhere, no matter what formation you are. Coach Gott and those guys do a great defense, do a great job defensively and offensively. But I know that defense is tough, and it's Katie in light blue. They do a couple things differently, but God, that defense is monstrous. So I think defensively, Pato has the edge, and I think offensively, Pato has the edge. So I'm giving the edge to the Panthers with Katie Pato. In the short version of it all. The short version.
That is an awesome scouting report. I don't know if I've heard a scouting report so detailed. And I think it's cool because, as sports writers, like, we have ideas, but we're not as into the game as you guys are, obviously, as coaches. But to hear that what we're seeing is kind of basically what coaches are seeing as well, is kind of vindicating. Because I was going to say the same thing. I was like, I'm trying to find a flaw in Pato other than they haven't played the toughest schedule. Maybe you could argue that they haven't had, like, this might be their second, because I know Foster was really big for them. So this may be their second really true test of the season for them. So I'm interested to see how they come out in a big game, because they haven't played in a lot of big games. Foster's been two of them, and then I would argue the playoff game last year was also big for them. But yeah, Hightower, I agree with the same thing. The Hightower's defense is incredible. I did not know as much about Pato's defense as Coach McDowell just brought up. I didn't realize all the things they did. So now I'm going to start paying more attention to that, because that's pretty neat. I didn't know all the mixes and stuff that God tries to do over there. That's cool. I'm going to go with Pato. I think, like Coach said, they're offensively better, defensively better, special teams better. The only thing I could say is Hightower, I think, can come in feeling like they have nothing to lose. They start 8 sophomores. Pato is supposed to win. Pato's senior laden, has a lot of experience, has been this big machine. Hightower is kind of surpassing everyone's expectations. I think if Pato comes in thinking like, oh, they're young, we got them, and Hightower comes in thinking, hey, we've got nothing to lose, I think that could be dangerous for Pato. But I'm going to go with Pato. I think they get the job done.
I think it's a Thursday night game. Is that right?
Yeah.
Thursday. So short week to get ready.
Yeah.
A little less preparation. Oh man, Pato has been scoring so many points of late. I think it's like 252-0. Now, granted, you can look at who they've played and strength of schedule and stuff like that. Hightower's beating some impressive teams. They had the win against Manville. That was impressive. Granted, they're not going out and scoring oogles of points right now. I think I'm going to go with, who's going to win this game? It's tough, because I feel like whoever I pick, either Coach Williams or Coach McDowell's going to be mad at me, because they're going to be like, you jinxed me because you lose all your picks.
No, just don't pick the Foster Falcons, all right, man?
I'm gonna go with Pato. I think Hightower has won some games. It just they haven't. I think the points are going to be the problem for Hightower. I think Pato can score a lot of points, but this is a big game for Pato. Honestly, this is one of their bigger games of the season along with Foster. How do they look against a formidable opponent like a Fort Bend Hightower? You could kind of mimic this as a playoff game, and really it's a playoff game for Hightower too, because their next 2 games, I think they close out against Milby and Wisdom. Yeah. So this will be their final maybe kind of playoff tune-up before hitting an actual playoff game. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go with Pato Panthers. I'm going to go with the Baby Blues. They got some cool uniforms. So once again, Coach Williams is the only one that's gone. He's riding the hurricane. This could ride him all the way to the championship.
Well, Pato's got Manville.
Let's seal a deal this week. We're going to do it.
Pato's got Manville. No, sorry. I was going to say Peyto's got Manville and Angleton left. So they've got Hightower and then they got Manville next week. It's not easy. Yeah. I was going to say, Coach McDowell, your Falcons are the only ones who played Peyto within 2 touchdowns.
And the reason I'm going to tell you why. A year ago when we first played them, we can throw and catch the ball. And we like, to be honest with you, we had probably 9 yards rushing against them. But we threw the ball for 400 something, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look at how Tompkins beat Katy a year ago, they threw the ball on them. Yes. Their run-stopping defense, you can't account. They outnumber you everywhere. Unless you got to do some unbalanced things, but they are built to stop the run. Yeah. So if you only run the ball, I'm not saying Hightower does it, but that's the first thing they want to do. Yeah. Right? That's the kind of mentality that they're having. I'm good with that. Just know they're not gonna account for that safety 7 yards over the box and unblocked, and he's gonna make a lot of tackles, or they're gonna mess with you in the front wise. If you can't throw the ball to get first downs or score, you're not gonna win this game, because Peyto will schematically put you in a bind and be everywhere. You're like, man, they're playing with 13. You know, it's like they're everywhere. So I think if Hightower can throw the ball effectively on them and get them and spread them out and do some things they haven't shown to be able to do, rather than throw the deep ball, but like have some routes, it's going to get interesting. But Peyto better be able to stop the pitch. Better be able to stop. They're going to have it. So it's going to be a physical game for sure. When I'm done with my JV game, I'm heading that way too. I'm get a Shirley Temple and a bag of popcorn with Coach Williams. So.
That's what we do on the rocks.
That's right.
If you all both end up at the same game watching it, there better be photographic evidence on Twitter of you two sitting there with Shirley Temples watching the football game.
The problem is going to be is that we have to FaceTime each other, because I have to be on the Peyto side now, and he has to be on the Hurricane side now. Because people watching this are going to be like, well, that didn't age well. You picked the wrong people. I'm not trying to hear all that. So.
We're just waiting for fans. That's it.
Now, if he brings his wife, I'm definitely sitting over there.
What toast?
Yeah.
Across the field.
That's right.
And here's the thing. I know people watch it because I'll show up to a game, and if I pick whatever team I picked, if I got it way wrong, I hear about it all down the sideline. Oh. It's hard. They're like, how'd your pick go? I'm like, The greatest one was like 3-4 years ago. I think Summer Creek had John Holcomb II, a big quarterback there, and they were rolling, and they were going to play Atascocita. And I came out and I said Summer Creek was going to beat Atascocita that week, and Atascocita beat them 50-0.
Oh, ouch!
So, yeah, I took it on the chin for that one.
Ouch!
Apparently they had my article like taped up in the locker room.
Done that before.
That's where your articles end up.
Now I just retweet.
Pinned.
Yeah.
Pinned.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We're here. All I say is I'm a motivational speaker during the week on my picks. I motivate teams to go prove me wrong.
My disclaimer is I don't know anything. I don't know nothing. It's just a guess. Yeah.
And it's the two coaches that are going to end up being first and second this year, and the coaches pick them, or they're going to tie for the championship, and we'll have to have like a playoff tiebreaker.
We'll do it. We'll just pick the Buffaloes, hopefully.
I'm going to be busy scouting for them, so I don't know if I have time.
All right, well, that'll wrap up this week's edition of the Coach's Corner. You can catch it every Wednesday at 6 o'clock on VYPE Media. We cannot thank Coach Williams, Coach McDowell so much every week for all their insight and knowledge and letting us talk to them for a whole hour during their lunch break. So we'll go let them have lunch, and we'll see everybody back here next week.